I think we can start with the fourth Mahavidya, Bhuvaneshwari. Still have 6 more to go, so story is not finished by far, because even though some of these things and, let's say, solutions that we've been talking about, they're very important and very powerful, but still we may need something more, and then definitely also we need Bhuvaneshwari. Bhuvaneshwari translates as the Queen, Ishwari, of the phenomenal world, you can say, or the phenomenal worlds. It's called Bhuvan, which means, the worlds of form, where phenomena are taking place, which is the physical plane, but which is also the astral plane and the celestial plane and many of the other lokas, many of the other planes that are there in existence. Wherever something appears, there she is the queen. She is ruling. And in such way we can also say Bhuvaneshwari is nature. And for us then here on this planet, Bhuvaneshwari definitely compares very much to Mother Nature. Although of course our planet is just a tiny place in the universe, and Bhuvaneshwari rules everything. So actually Mother Earth is a small deity compared to Bhuvaneshwari, but they have very similar properties, and Bhuvaneshwari is often also named Mahi Mata, which means the Great Mother, the Mother of the universe, from whom we are all born, and who also nurtures us. And in some paintings you will even see her with really big breasts. Made me think a little bit even about the Venus of Willendorf. You must know this ancient prehistoric sculpture of a huge woman deity with big breasts, also pregnant, but that is actually not with Bhuvaneshwari. Let's maybe start with sharing my screen and showing you the picture that I have from Peter Weltevrede, of course. Now you should be seeing that.
Yes.
So here she looks more like normal way, but the artist always, he has the power to interpret. And I think the main thing here to remember is the big throne on which she is sitting, fitting for the queen of the universe. This is not a small throne, and in some paintings I've seen it even much, 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 much bigger, almost dwarfing herself. So this is the typical image of Bhuvaneshwari, and then we also see her yantra. And some of the activities associated with Bhuvaneshwari, you see in the bottom a man sitting in nature. So enjoying nature is of course very much there related. But on top you see a man also meditating on his heart chakra. That is definitely also very much related to Bhuvaneshwari. We'll come to that. And then on the left and the right, you see a figure bow down in devotion and in service, in servitude. And that also comes very much when we are thinking about what Bhuvaneshwari means. And there is a very well-known story about her that explains it, in which the three main gods, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, they are having a little bit of a quarrel about which one of them is the greatest. and they start showing off their various powers. Until then, Bhuvaneshwari intervenes and invites them to visit her in her palace, which is a huge palace, like the throne is huge, the palace is huge. And to their surprise, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, they then see themselves there in the palace as women servants of Bhuvaneshwari. And at some point also, or in some of the stories also, then in the shine on her toenail, they see multiple universes. And in each one of these, they see themselves again, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, as servants to Bhuvaneshwari. So just to show how great Bhuvaneshwari is, and how everybody, because in a way Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, that's also us. We are also creating, maintaining, destroying, which are the three main functions of these gods. So we also are essentially only serving Bhuvaneshwari. So that as an introduction, and in this way Bhuvaneshwari, as the Mahimata, as the Great Mother, she is the space in which everything is. Or I would even say, she is the space that is everything. Now I have to explain a little bit about the concept of space. Some of you may already have heard this in other classes, that the element of space is not empty space. The element of space, which is often also called the ether element, is, space, but still a space which is full of, you could say, primordial energy, basic stuff. And actually now also modern science came to the same conclusion with this discovery of dark matter. Dark matter being found everywhere in space, but so thin, let's say, so subtle, that it cannot be seen or detected with any of the equipment that we have. Only by calculation they have discovered it, because somehow, I don't really know how it works, but somehow in the calculations it was clear that a lot of matter that is there in the universe remains undetected, but we can calculate that it must be there. And so that is actually also then known as para Shakti, the original stuff from which everything is made. And then creation actually happens by a contraction of this energy, matter, whichever you want to call it, which always becomes more and more dense. So then we have the 5 elements, the element of space or ether. When it becomes more compact, it becomes air or gases, you could say. And when the gases even become more compact, then there is a friction coming, and this friction brings fire. So then we have the fire element. And then when the fire is burning, it creates a lot of liquid, and so then we get the water element. And when the water becomes more and more dense, or you could say frozen, then it becomes earth element or solids. So this is the point of view of Vedic scripture when it comes to the creation of the universe, up to the point where we are now. It all originates in this space element. There's even an origin beyond that, which is called Mahat, which is like the element before all elements. Some may then call this antimatter. I wouldn't go in there because that gets very theoretical, but very important to see how from space everything else develops. And so air, in a way, is not just air, it is air and space. And fire is not just fire, it is fire, air and space. So all the elements, they contain space, which is quite obvious, because without space, what could exist? No? But so That is what Bhuvaneshwari really is. It is this space matter out of which everything is made and which is infinite. No? When we look into space, it's infinite. And that same space actually also can be said to be the space of mind. That's again a little bit theoretical, but so you've certainly heard that this whole world is an illusion, no? So what really happens is that in the space of mind, this world is created, no? From Akash to all the other elements. But so this to say a little bit what Bhuvaneshwari means, and she comes in this way very logically also after Kali, Tara and Tripura Sundari. No? Kali comes as time because for something to happen you need time. For something to change you need time. That's when time comes. When things change, then we notice, oh, something happened. Before it was like this, now it is like that. So that way you create the past and the present, and you can also then imagine the future. So that is Kali. So and then from that time, no, comes the sound, no, like in the Bible even, in the beginning was the Word and the Word was God. These things also exist in Vedic philosophy, that the first thing that actually comes is sound, or the soundless sound, which then becomes the sound Om, and from where all the other sounds come. So that is then Tara. And then, I think I did not explain that very well last time. When the sound comes, then comes the I would say essence of aesthetics, which is Tripura Sundari. No? I've explained that when we can keep still, when we can connect to that original sound, let's say, then whatever we see is beauty, the beauty of pure perception. That is Tripura Sundari. So that also happens in creation. Out of this primordial sound comes the perception of beauty, but before anything is actually created, no? The perception comes, and so everything that then follows is beautiful, no? And then what follows is the space, no? Then really creation happens, let's say, in a more material sense, dark matter condensing then to all kinds of different elements, star systems, planets, plants, animals, people, the whole thing. So that is how Bhuvaneshwari comes here in fourth place. And I would say in a very similar way also it comes when we think about ourselves and how we can deal with life. Then Kali teaches us the impermanence and permanence of everything. It brings us beyond the fear of death, right? Showing us that death is the illusion and life, the life force, which is Kali, is the truth. And then Tara helps us to overcome that which anyhow, whatever we think, is coming up from the subconscious mind, our deeper emotions. So to help us cross the ocean of our emotions, which is sometimes a little bit disturbed, Tara comes and teaches us, okay, sound, or the soundless sound. That is the way to cross these oceans. That way you can keep calm. And if you can do that, by whatever means, necessary or which works for you, if you can keep still and you look outside, then all you see is beauty. From that little smile that comes, from that bliss that comes from the connection to the self in silence, whatever you see is beauty. So then you see a beautiful universe, and automatically, that I already indicated last time, automatically you love it. Because beauty and love, they go very much together. Whatever we see as beautiful, we love it. So that is then where we are now with Bhuvaneshwari. We see this universe, And from our good feeling, let's say, in pure perception, we love it. But then how to love it? That is the mystery. And that is not a very easy question. No? I was thinking about this before, that this would be a very difficult class for me, because it's such a broad subject. I could fill 10 classes about love and still feel I'm not being complete. No? So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to condense it a little bit. I mean, not a little bit, quite a lot. Try to stick to the essence of it. And then we can see, okay, whatever questions remain, we can answer, and then whatever needed, will come later maybe. But it is not an easy question. How to love this universe it's quite a tricky question. And today I'm definitely not going to talk about love relationships in the sense of, two people really making a team. That I already have covered in the class, The Yoga of a Love Relationship, which you can find on YouTube. So if that's your interest, then you can find it there. But so in a more universal way, I would say, how can we love the universe? And in a way also, this story about Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, it gives us already an idea. They are servants. Servants of Bhuvaneshwari, servants of the universe. So that is how, surely, we can love the universe by selfless service to the universe. That is the best way. But that still does not make it an easy question. Because we cannot serve everybody, we cannot help everybody. Loving and helping are not the same thing. It's possible to help somebody without actually loving that person. And it's also possible to love somebody without really feeling the need to help them. Like maybe if you love your kid, but you still feel, okay, I'm not going to help with your homework because the point is that you learn how to do this yourself. So in that way, the answer of helping is not so easy, or not so obvious. Sure, there we come to, karma yoga, selfless service. We come to doing our dharma, meaning, being in harmony with everything and taking care of our role. If we are a father or a mother, we take care of the kids and so on. So this is all quite basic, But to know what to do, we have to a little bit look at how Bhuvaneshwari is doing it herself. Because if you look at some descriptions of Bhuvaneshwari, then obviously the writers are very much in love with this deity and a little bit, let's say, romantic about it. And they feel, yes, she is our mother. She is always loving us. And she is always nurturing us. Sure. Nature is the one giving us everything. All these things my body is made of come from Bhuvaneshwari, from Mother Nature. So, yes, we can say it like that. But nature does not only bring fruits and cakes. Nature actually is quite indiscriminate. Both in its blessings as in its curses. People die from floods and lightning and droughts and, many of the things that are there in nature are not so pleasant, let's say. And so that thing of to love the universe means to help the universe is also limited in that way. That is the nature of nature, you can say. And the one thing which is clear, and where we can actually find our cue, is that whatever nature is doing, it is doing so indiscriminate, unconditional. It is not because you are being a very good boy that the storm is not going to come. It is not because you are very bad that the crops are not going to grow. This is not how nature works. No? Sometimes you can read in stories that people think, oh, now we have a drought or something and all the crops are destroyed, and this must be because nature is angry and punishing us for whatever, bad things are then seen to be present in that society. This is a typical way of thinking about God or thinking about Mother Nature. But this is wrong. No? Mother Nature is not like that at all. If that happened, this is just by coincidence, that maybe some bad behavior comes along with some bad conditions in nature, but for sure some bad behavior also can exist while nature keeps on bringing all these riches and all these, blessings that nature has to offer. So that is really the true nature of nature, that it gives everybody, whatever they are, whichever way they are, whatever they are doing, it gives them space to live. And that's, I think, the beauty also of the relationship between Bhuvaneshwari and space, that this giving of space is the most essential way in which Bhuvaneshwari works. And the study of space in that way is very interesting, because in space we always see two things. We see expansion and we see contraction, right? The universe expands as more things are created, but the very creation itself is more a matter of contraction, of things, coming together, seemingly, loving each other. Adhesion, cohesion, these are all things that exist in physics. So this is also how, pure like gravity. Why is this earth turning around the sun? This is the power of gravity. So these two forces are at work in nature. And so what we can learn about the most principal way in which we can serve Bhuvaneshwari is to give everybody space, which means that we accept everybody as they are. It does not mean we accept every action of everybody as it is. That's a different thing. We are still, needing to also, let's say, defend our own space, for example. That is also natural. If you look how animals behave, they will not accept if somebody is invading their space. They will defend it. That is natural. But the main thing is that we accept the existence of everybody, of everything, whichever way they are. That is the main thing. And that then comes back also as something that my teacher Harish Johari used to say so often. Unity in diversity. It is not because we are different that we have to fight each other. Like these days, people with different opinions, they tend to fight a lot. It is not needed. We can be different, we can have different opinions, we can have different tastes, we can have different habits, we can have different desires, we can have different situations, and still accept that others are there, whichever way they are. So unconditional love, which is a big word in spiritual circles, does not mean that you allow everybody to do whatever they want. It does not mean that you help everybody whichever they are. That may not be, logical. We'll come back to that also a little more. But the main thing is that you love everybody as they are, accepting them as they are, seeing unity in diversity. And so that is really the fourth vidya of love, that love means that you accept everybody. You give them space. Maybe not so much near to your own space. If they're playing a lot of hard rap music and you don't like that, okay, that's your freedom, that's your choice, that's your duty even to create your own space. But accept that others are there and that they can be whoever they want, that they can be also, let's say, wherever they want on the spiritual progress ladder, no? That we have talked about many times before, and especially also when we talk about the chakras. I explained that everybody is in some kind of evolution, and this evolution is quite natural, but it means some people, they are mostly interested in earning money, let's say, or in partying, or in self-aggrandization, if that's even a word, but I think you understand, in their ego games. It means they are there, and you accept them as they are there. You love them as they are there. So whoever comes to you, whichever way they are, you accept them. That is love. That is the love of Bhuvaneshwari. Then whatever you do with them, that's a different thing maybe. But in the basis, you accept them. And the mystery, actually, that is related to this vidya, to this knowledge of unity in diversity, is this big fear, this big eternal question that we all have: am I loved? Am I lovable? Am I good enough so that others will love me? So that is such a very, very important fear and a very important question that we have, maybe more in some people than in others. If they are more uncertain, let's say, they will have this question a lot more, but let's be honest, we all have that. And it is also this question that produces this rather crazy search for identity, which we call the ego. All this thinking that we have about who we are as individuals is very much a question of, are we lovable? Are we good enough so that others will like us? So, and then the answer that comes there is, of sure, you are lovable. In the eyes of Bhuvaneshwari, who is all of our mother, you are lovable as you are. With whatever qualities you have and with whatever, like problems you have or limits you have. We are not born to be perfect. We talked about that also before. The moment you have manifestation in the form, you cannot be perfect. I'll repeat, if you are a man, then some of the good parts of being a woman, I'm sorry, you don't have them. And vice versa. If you are black, you are not white. You don't have the qualities of white, and neither of green or blue. So, in that way, we do not have to be perfect to be lovable. In the eyes of our mother, we are all lovable. Even, let's say, the most naughty of her children, she will still love them and give them space. Space to grow, space to live. She will not withhold them food or drink or whatever they need to further develop. And so that is so very important in our relationship to others. And some of you may remember this story about Ram Dass trying to love George Bush. For those who haven't heard it, Ram Dass was explaining that his teacher was telling him that his task, his main task in life, his main challenge, was to love everybody. And so, to make that a little bit into an exercise, he put a picture of George Bush on his puja place, next to his teacher and the gods and everybody who was there, and try to feel love, towards George Bush, which he didn't like actually, as a person. And then he explains how suddenly, after quite some time of fruitless trying, he could really feel love towards George Bush by thinking, oh, what a lousy incarnation. Understanding that the world also needs a George Bush, This is the very basic understanding of the freedom that we all have. I've said before, if you have no Hitler, or if you cannot have a Hitler, then you cannot have a Jesus Christ. Because, both are a matter of freedom, of choice. If you would all be pre-programmed to be good, no game, no fun, no lila, no play, no evolution, nothing, boring, That's not why the universe was created. So that freedom is there, that space is there for everybody to be whoever they want to be. And hopefully, maybe, we can say, get a little bit wise in that process and more understand that to think in terms of us is the main thing that will make us happy, rather than always think me, which is the more selfish attitude. But freedom is there, and so in that way, if we can look at people like that, then easily we can love them, and we can also feel loved ourselves. We get the space, they get the space. You see, this space to be whoever we want to be, that is what we have, right? And by having that, we can feel lovable. It's a very old discussion I once had with my father about then President Ronald Reagan, whom I particularly, disliked, and where my father, who also actually did not agree with his kind of politics, but where my father said, yes, but he is still believing that he is doing the right thing. Whatever politics he is, promoting, he is promoting them because he thinks they are, the right thing. Even, if that meant promoting, mostly the rich, then he believes that the rich will in turn then, give jobs to everybody and give good business, good economy, and everybody will be served by that. The people who believe that, they really believe that. So in that way, give everybody the space to be whoever they want to be. And if we need to attack something, then we should attack whatever they are doing and not the person. This is something I also explain in the class on anger. If you want to set your boundaries towards others without creating even more anger in them, then the main thing is to play the ball and not the player. To attack whatever they are doing wrong, but never make it personal and never take it personal. Because it is not personal. Whatever they are doing because they think that's what they have to do, and it hurts you, but that's not personal. That's not meant to hurt you. And so, you attack whatever they are doing, but you don't say you are bad, you are just saying you are doing a bad thing. So that is really the secret to love, to give everybody space, and then there's the main challenge or the main difficulty is to find your own place. And now I'm coming back a little bit to this space being partially expansion and partially contraction. It is in the nature of things that we learn to find our own place in space. In this space of love where everybody anyhow has a place, right? So that means that while we could, really love everybody by giving everybody space and never feeling anything negative towards anybody, maybe to what they are doing, but not to what, they are, not to whom they are, that at the same time, we also can find people or places, animals, plants, whichever, with whom we can create a more close relationship. And that definitely is also the way in which Bhuvaneshwari, let's say, wants us to love. The big picture is taken care of. The self is in each thing. For those who were there, I explained that even inside the demon there is the self. So the divine is also there. So the self is everywhere. We do not need to, in practice, love everybody. We can love everybody by giving them space, but in practice, it is about connecting to others and trying, to create a community of sorts, whichever, it is, whether it is with a couple, in a couple with one person and maybe children, or a broader family, or the neighbors, or the neighborhood, or maybe the yoga community in the city, or, whichever place we find where we feel, okay, we are fitting, there we create love together, by making even more of an effort to allow others to have space. Like if we think about personal relationships, love relationships, that is the main thing. That's all I'm going to say about that, but it's the main thing, that both partners give each other the space, the love, to be whoever they, are or want to be. That means both are equal. The moment that one feels he needs to change the other, the love is already degrading. The moment you want to force the other into something, into some picture that you have made of how your ideal husband or wife should be, very bad for the relationship actually. The main thing should be that both accept each other as they are. Okay, if some behavior needs to be corrected, let's say, because it does not fit, that is also natural, but then it is only that behavior which is attacked, let's say, and never the partner, never the person. No, and as in a couple, same in bigger groups, but definitely that, living of universal love on a much more smaller scale is in the nature of things. Like Hari Johari, he used to say, if you have many friends, then you have no friend. Meaning that, friendship really requires your time and your attention and communication and interaction and support and sacrifice and all these things. So that requires this focus on your more close relationships. And then we come to another part of this question, and I'm saying it's really a complicated question. That is then, apart from enjoying things together, right? Love being the ultimate spice to everything. The tricky question of which ice cream you prefer, either the greatest ice cream in the universe ever made, most tasty, most variety, that you can eat all on your own, not even social media, no selfies, nothing, just you and that ice cream. So you can choose that, or you can choose to have a more normal, still nice ice cream together with your beloved. So, and then the wise person chooses the second, knowing that to enjoy something, whichever it is the most enjoyable when we can do this together. So this is definitely one part of that love we are talking about, that love which Tripura Sundari desires. By seeing this beauty, she loves it. So then to enjoy life together, the Leela, that's what it's meant for. That is one part of it. But the other part is, of course, then how can we serve Bhuvaneshwari? How can we serve the Earth Mother or the Great Mother of the universe? What is our place there? So this is also actually important, especially once our energy moves a little bit more in the higher chakras and we are not so much interested in ice cream anymore. We want something more, we want to really connect more, deeper, and also, yes, nurture love, nurture connection. So then the question is, what is there our role? And I feel many people these days, when I have like a coaching going on or something, they come with this question, like, what should I do? How can I help? It's a very good question. The answer, okay, it lies a little bit in what can you do? What are you good at? We all come with certain talents. So in that way, we all have something to offer. So there lies a bit of the answer, but that may not always be so clear. Then the main answer really is surrender. That definitely also is part of working with Bhuvaneshwari. She is the queen. She is in charge. So there, to Mother Nature, we surrender. And we see what signs are coming. Okay, we can start from our talents, let's say, what we have to offer. We can even make some plans about doing this or that to help the local community or whatever, part of nature we want to help. But still, that question will not be so easy to solve unless we surrender. As long as you are trying to be in control there, as long as you are going to have fixed ideas like, I want to do that, and somehow this does not so easily work, you get some bad luck, you get some opposition, you get some other people disagreeing or, whatever, then it's time to surrender and just say, okay, please show me what to do. And that is very hard. I would say myself, I'm still so much at the beginning of that practice, even though I've been trying for a very long time, to more and more just surrender and let it happen and see what questions are coming. That is the main thing. We should never try to help somebody who is not asking for it. That is a wrong idea. Like this often I see also in people, they see, oh, that person, he is like unhappy, in trouble, making trouble for others. I have to change that person. I have to make them see. I have to send love to them so that they will, like open up and become a different kind of person. But that's the wrong idea. That is not giving space to people, As I explained in a couple also, if you want to change your husband or your wife, it's not love, It's just an ego game, actually, So when we want to help others, it is best if they ask for it. And so that is where our answer is. Surrender and wait for help to be asked. Wait for opportunities to present themselves. Opportunities for helping. Maybe it means somebody comes to you and say, oh, I really like whatever, your bhajan singing, and I have the perfect spot for it. Would you please come and do that? And, I'll do my part and invite some friends and we'll have a good time together. Then okay, that is something which I can do. I mean, in the sense like, okay, I'm qualified to do it. And that is something which is asked, so that is something which I will do. And once you start doing it like that, things start moving automatically. If you have something to offer and you are willing to share it with an open heart, and in that way also, I mean, not immediately want to make a big business out of it. You're really willing to share it, opportunity will come. Some spiritual help will come and will show you the way. Of course, when I say Bhuvaneshwari will show you the way, don't expect like miracles to happen to show you the way. That is the story of God and the helicopter. I think most of you already know it. No? I don't know. No, I see some people saying no. So let's just go there. It's a very, very important story when we talk about surrender and about signs from the divine. So I'll try to make it short. There's a flood and everybody is running away. But one man, he's very religious, very much believes in God, and he says, no, I'm not running. I'm going to pray to God and he will save me. So then the water comes, already like 30 centimeters is there, and a man comes on a horse and he says, come, jump on the horse, I'll save you. No, please, God will save me, just go. And the water goes up, he's already like having to move to the first floor of his house. And some people come with a boat, rowing, and they say, come, we will save you. Say, no, please, God will save me. Then it goes up and up and up, more and more water comes, he's on the roof of the house. Then comes a helicopter with a ladder hanging out, and they say, come, we'll save you. Say, no, God will save me. And then the water goes up and up and up, and he drowns, and he comes in heaven, meets God, and he says to God, hey, I'm really so much in love with you, I'm so much trusting you, I'm so much surrendering to you, I've put all my faith in you and you did not save me. And then God answers, yeah, well, first I send you a man on a horse you didn't want, then I sent some people in a boat you didn't want, then I even managed to send you a helicopter you didn't want. Now what can I do? All the help I have sent you did not want, because you were waiting for some miraculous sign coming from the heavens. So that is also how you should see it. Don't, expect that. Don't have too much fantasy. No? Some people in this spiritual game, they have a little bit too much fantasy. The world is miraculous for sure, but it works in normal ways, usually. Sometimes it also works in quite special ways. That is true also. but in most cases it works in very normal ways. So see where you are asked. Those are the signs, the main signs. And see then also maybe how things naturally unfold. And be not afraid to ask. If you feel this is the most essential practice in Tantra, if you feel you have something to offer to the universe, or to, a little part of it, but you don't really know how, it can be done, you need some help, you need some things to fall into place, then just ask. Whichever form of the divine you like, it doesn't matter, Bhuvaneshwari, Ganesha, Shiva, Kali, whichever, just ask. And if you ask a question like that, without any interest yourself, not even your ego being involved in the sense of, I'm going to do something great, no, just, humbly offer your talents, offer whatever it is you have to offer, and then just ask for help so that you can put this talent to the use of others. That is the main thing. Don't say it has to happen in a castle, it has to happen on a bus, it has to happen. No, don't go into specifics. Let that to, Bhuvaneshwari. She's in charge. She will organize the way it suits her and suits nature, let's say. And then be on the lookout for what is happening. And I can only say that I've tried this very long time, but I've not been a good student, I feel. Not been trusting enough. If you don't trust enough and you're still making up, your own plans, I'm going to do this and then that will fall into place, and I'm, okay, this is part of life, this is part of how we do things. But the first thing is being asked, the second is to ask for the help, and then to follow, whatever is presented. Without any stress. It does not have to happen tomorrow. If it does not happen tomorrow, it will happen next week. So in that way, be relaxed that it will come. So if that is also part of, finding your own way to serve the universe, that is where to go, that is how to go. And for the rest, be sure to, serve those that are close to you. This is how the universe works, so that you can enjoy life together, grow together, expand together like space, create a bubble of love, a space of love. The understanding of love as space is very essential. And it suits all our desires. The desire of the first chakra to have security, well, if you have many friends, if you have a good family, if you have a good bubble of love, then you don't have to worry about, getting into money problem or falling ill or something, because then other people will be there to take care of you. And to enjoy ice cream, as I said, second chakra desire will be the most enjoyable with everybody. And to be somebody, to achieve something. It's one thing to climb a mountain and stand on top of it. It's another thing to climb a mountain with a group of people and together you stand on top of it. That's a euphoric feeling of having done that together, and helped each other up in the difficult places, secured each other. That is great. And then of course desire of the fourth chakra is all about love. And desire of fifth chakra to understand is also so much more enjoyable and fruitful if you have companions in your search. And you have some people with whom you can discuss whatever it is that interests you, so that you can all understand it better. And then, okay, in sixth chakra, Meditation, you can say this community is more of a burden than anything else because it might disturb your meditation, but at the same time, it also gives security for meditation, no? Because you know that you are going inside, you are closing your eyes, you are not hearing anything anymore, you're not aware anymore of what is happening around you. Somebody is there to protect you, no? Like imagine meditating alone in the jungle with all the animals and everything which is there. If somebody else is also around, keeping an eye on you, protecting you, that is also good. So in that way, all our desires, all our endeavors, or our wishes, they are much more easily and nicely, I would say, enjoyably pursued with others in community. And the whole Leela game, of course, is a game of love, ultimately. The colors and the sounds and all these things, they just serve actually to enhance that love. So I think that more or less explains Bhuvaneshwari and the essence of love, which is to give space to everybody. It's so important, People come and immediately you feel no. Like, no, in the sense of that's not the kind of person I want to associate with. You can see it maybe already the way they dress or behave or talk or the first thing they say, or maybe just from the feeling of them, their energy, let's say. And you say no. You have a right to say no when it comes to what am I going to do with this person? Is this person going to be part of my love bubble, my love space, or not? That sure is your decision that you have to make. That's how it works. But still, you can give that person the space and be kind to that person and give them the feeling of being accepted, whomever they are. If all in the world could a little bit do that, there would not be so much trouble, right? So that is definitely also a main way to serve Bhuvaneshwari. And in that sense, I really do not appreciate if in spiritual circles there is like created a very much negative feeling towards whomever is not involved or supposedly not involved in spirituality. That is contrary to this law of love, which is to give everybody space, whomever they are, whichever they are. But if my cat, I think you are hearing her, is again complaining for the 100th time today, I do have the right to let her know I don't want it by throwing a very soft caution at her, so that she understands, okay, somebody is there, because actually she's just looking for me and she can't see, so she doesn't know where I am. So now she knows he is here, but he doesn't want me to cry. So these are natural things. To defend yourself, to defend your space, to defend your peace. These are natural things. And in that way, it's best to be quite selective when it comes to choosing those people that are part of your bubble. It's a very modern word now, with the corona thing. Your bubble of love. No? But at the same time, love, accept everything around you. The weather, the traffic jams, the stupidity, the media, the people, whatever, accept. Give it space. and do your own thing. That's mainly the story of today. So I don't know if there's any questions now about that. Well, first about George Bush, you are quite right that I did not specify enough that what Ram Dass was trying to feel towards that picture really was love. So it was not just about accepting him as he is. It was also not just about seeing behind the eyes of George Bush the same self which is there in everyone, which is also, of course, one way to love, but to really also love him in his own being, no? In his own individual being, even if that being is so very different from your own being. And in that way, yes, we can try that whomever comes to us, whether they kind of fit to us or do not fit to us, that we still feel love. That we do not just act as if, okay, we accept you, but that we truly accept in love, and love that person for being whomever he is. Even if, it's not very much to our personal taste. Give that space, which is love. So, anyways, then the game of like and dislike is again a very natural game. And okay, we can try to stop that by liking everything. Sure. And also definitely seeing that there are two sides to everything. Then we may be not so much talking about people, but that something which happens to us may not be very agreeable, but in the end may still produce a very positive result. So in that way. But on the other hand, we are supposed to use this ability to like and dislike to also create, our own love bubble, as I said, and invite those people which we feel will fit and which will really create together then the energy that we like to create, whether it is, to cook or to sing or to meditate or whichever we want to do. You don't have to do anything. You have to do what you want to do. But what is meant here truly means that you love everybody. Completely setting aside like and dislike in this love. Not in your actions, not in whatever you are going to do or not do with them, whether you talk to them or not, these things. But in your heart, still love them. Feel love to them. No, last time we were explaining if you just can keep quiet for a bit, and the bliss comes, and then you see the beauty, and beauty you see everywhere. And then with a little heart breathing I was explaining, this beauty will increase, and you will love. So that is what I really mean, that if you see a person who is not in your, like section, that still, by centering inside, looking with the eye of the self, let's say, you love. And it does not oblige you to do anything more but that. And really to feel that. To see a person, wherever they are trying, yes. Even the worst person is trying. He's maybe not trying hard enough, or he doesn't, try in the right way, or whichever criticism you can have, it does not matter. He is still a human being trying. He is still a little child trying. And so in that way, we can love anybody. Truly. I mean, feel that love, not just try to feel it. The way Bhuvaneshwari loves everybody is totally beyond trying, yes? It just is. So that is the way of the divine. That is the way of your own heart. If you look from your own heart, if you look from the self, then there is no question actually of not loving. Only, as I said, in practice then, it is not easy. And so that's why I made the distinction that on the one side, whomever is there, you love them by giving them the space to be whoever they want to be. But in your own life, in your actions, in whatever it is you are doing, there you are specific, you are choosy. I advise you to be choosy and select then those people with whom you can connect to really have a good party, let's say, of life. Well, let me first maybe say, no, these mysteries and truths of the Mahavidyas, they are as absolute as the truth of the self. No? I've explained that in the first class on these Mahavidyas. But they are in manifestation. No? So that makes it a little more complicated, of course, because this manifestation always changes, blah, blah, blah. So it's a little, more relative in a way, but these things are still absolutes also in their own way. Space is an absolute, let's say, entity that exists beyond time, beyond change. Space also never changes. And these particular qualities of space, expansion and contraction, and giving everybody space, whomever they are, whatever aliens, are there on other planets and in other galaxies, they can be whoever they want to be, even if they might be, in our eyes, not only very different, but also like bad or something. They have that space. So that is what then, we reflect upon to see what is our own behavior. What is the behavior that is most closely related to the self? Because all these truths are extensions of the self, extensions of the non-dual truths of the self, in duality, in manifestation. So then we try to expand like space, give everybody space, give everybody love, and at this other time we try to contract and do something in a smaller place, connect to some parts of this huge universe, which is too huge to embrace, quite clearly. So if you want to embrace something, it has to become closer, it has to be more nearby. And then embracing, we want to do in good way, really serve that love, and then we try to surrender. And then your question is, Where is the ego in that? No? So let's just be clear. Without the ego, nothing can be done. If all you want to do has to come straight from the self, then you cannot even lift a finger. Because what would be, the purpose of the self in lifting a finger? Let alone in helping others, loving others, singing bhajans. The self is pure beingness. It has no desire. There's no action coming from it. It does not take any decision. Maybe I actually love that piece which I wrote myself in that book, where I say the self has the easy job. The ego has the difficult job, because the ego always has to decide, right or wrong, left or right. We have to make these choices. So whenever we act, the ego is there. Let's just be very clear about that, and that's also why I say we have to love the ego, because it's very natural, no? The ego is not something bad, it's not a demon, it's not, something we have to forget or even can forget. As I say, we cannot even forget it without it. No? Who is the one who wants to destroy the ego? Only the ego. The self does not want to destroy the ego. The self does not want anything. The self is fine with everything as it is. From the self, that universal love, it comes without question, without alternative even. So, you want to be the absolute self. There is nothing else that you can be, It's a non-issue, actually. So then when we talk about how can we live more from the self, right? Or even how can we live 100% from the self? It's the ego who is going to have to do that. It's not the self. The self is not acting in any way. Is not thinking in any way, is not doing anything, not trying anything, not wanting anything. So if we ask this question, and all the people who are, in these classes on non-duality, they are there with a question. How can I do this? Then the only one who can do anything is the ego. And then the answer very often, I'm sorry, you get, is that, you cannot do anything. You just have to stop doing anything. Because whatever you do is the ego. But that's just like putting people in an impossible position. And that is also not how non-duality originally was taught. Not even by Ramana Maharishi or Nisargadatta Maharaj or any of these saints. If you look at their teaching, yes, sure, the teaching of non-duality is the primary teaching, because, that's what they want to offer their students. But if you ask how, they'll point you to all the other techniques that are there to find that silence, to find that pure beingness, and then to start living from there. And that is the subject where we are talking about here with the Mahavidyas. How do you do that then? To find the self, there's a whole bunch of options. From the most simple but most complicated way of just being, just, sitting or standing or whichever you want, and not try anything, not think anything, not do anything, that's the most easy to explain, but the most difficult to do, up to all the other techniques of asana, pranayama, dharana, mantra, jantra, all these things. They all bring you to that point where you can feel, now I feel the self. You have some experience of it. But then the second part is to bring that experience out, right? To live from there, That is what we desire. To really be that self also in practice. But I've said it in the beginning of this class, you will never be perfect. You cannot. In manifestation, you cannot. That's why we have an ego, And so then, okay, we can try to see how nature is doing it. We can try to see the essence of time, we can try to see the essence of space, we can try to see the essence of sound, and try to learn from it. And that's what we are doing here. And then when it comes to love, it says, okay, love everybody in giving them space, and create love around you whichever way you want, whichever way suits your nature, and then suits also, the nature of those around you. So that then, okay, sure, is something from the ego. It's for the ego, sure. But even if you kill yourself, you're not rid of the ego. It'll go on with you to the next life. So they are making like a different story, and it's a good story, but in practice this does not work. Not on its own. Of course, it's what makes all practice work also. This continuous connection to the self. How can you love everybody if you're not having some connection to the self? No. Because then only from your ego you will judge people. Like and dislike. So only from the self, from the bliss of the self, you can see, truly see and feel, we were talking about it, truly feel that love of the other. But it's still the ego who has to live with it, right? It's still the ego who has to work with it, who has to make it happen. And so that ego, it is the hero of yoga and spirituality. And we have to love it. And not doubt it all the time. And feel that it's a bad thing. It is beautiful the way we are who we are as individuals. Like this search for identity, which is the ego, is not just crazy, right? It's also like making a very fundamental intellectual error. Because honestly, the idea that I am the universal self, the divine self, that is present in each and everything which I can see even behind the eyes of the pig. I'm sorry, but it doesn't satisfy me. I want to know that Peter Marchant is somebody worthy of love. I don't want to only be worthy of love because, well, in the basis, let's say, in the origin of my being, there is this beautiful divine essence which we all have. No. I want some specific Peter Marchant to be particularly lovable. That is the desire we all have. And when I say that this is crazy, then what I mean is that it is crazy to search for this specific, almost mythical person, Peter Marchant, as if that were, like one thing. Because the truth is, of course, that Peter Marchant can be so many things. Unity in diversity again. I can be a father, I can be a teacher, I can be a lover, I can be a musician, I can be a cook, I can be all these things. And in every second I can try to be, perfect within that imperfection of, limited time and space. and in that way I can be lovable. But that's all ego, right? That's all what I'm talking about is ego, sure. But the problem with the ego is mainly the attachment. That's why we have Kali. The attachment to things outside of us, but also to things which we feel are inside of us, like I'm smart, I'm a good musician, I'm a good cook, I'm good this, I'm good that. Which is not wise, no, to get attached to all these things because they are impermanent. They come and they go. So if I can see also in myself unity in diversity, then I can see this Peter Martian person as the eternal dancer who will be whoever is needed in, relationship to everything else. Whatever is needed, I can be. And then I become free. And if I can be whoever is needed, then I'll be loved. Sure. Because I'll adapt to whatever is needed. Unity in diversity is such an important concept. And it is not only about finding the self in everything and in that way seeing the union in everything. It goes so much further than that, actually. It's this complementarity which I have also been talking about a lot. The fact that there are many different people is also a matter of complementarity. In a couple, when two people are same, it also does not work. When they are different, they can help each other. They can make a good team. They can be complementary. Even in politics, the fact that there are different opinions is very natural and very much needed, because all these ideas are complementary. Yes, we have to take care of the poor people. Yes, we have to take care of business also. Yes, we also have to take care of the environment. And we have to take care of religion. And we have to take care of this and take care of that. And they are all right. And they are all wrong in thinking they are right. Thinking they have the only thing which is relevant. Complementarity. And so if you can see yourself beyond that individual, but still as being an individual, as complementary to everything else, then you are with Bhuvaneshwari. Then you are really serving. Then you are really bringing what is needed. If you only want to be this or only want to be that because you got like attached to some kind of image of yourself, then not. Then you're just playing, okay, a pure ego game. But if you can be flexible in there, then you are a true servant. And that is the surrender, to see what is needed, to give help where it is asked, not to impose it upon others. That's again ego in the sense of, being attached to a particular idea. Oh, I know this, I should do that, so, everybody should be very happy that I'm doing that and I'm helping them. But it's not like that. Some people, like for me as a healer, I see them and I like to give them a healing, because they seem very unhappy, but they have every right to be unhappy. And so they will resist it. If they are unhappy and they ask me, then okay. But I cannot just go around like healing people without asking permission. Well, but I just repeat, so absolutely clear, no? That whenever manifestation is there, in whichever yug we are talking about, yug for people who don't know the word means like era, or how you say that, like period of time, but quite a long period of time. But in whichever period of time, whenever there is manifestation, whenever something is manifested in some form, it is imperfect because of the form that it has. It cannot be perfect because it will always be lacking something. Like a mountain lacks all the beautiful properties of a lake. I could put it like that also. No? So, in that way, we can all just try to be as perfect as possible within that limitation of our form. No? I'll come back also now to another teacher telling me, Katya Baba, no, if you are an apple tree, you try to make the best possible apples, you don't try to make mangoes. No? Wait till next life when you are a mango tree to make mangoes. So, in that way, no, is reality. Now, then in Satya Yuga, what is mainly different between now, where is Kali Yuga? No? Satya Yuga is the first of the 4 periods, and now we are in the last of the 4 periods. The main way, I always like the way they explain it, is through the bull of Dharma. No? Dharma being harmony or righteousness. And so in Satya Yuga, there the bull still is standing very firmly on 4 feet. No? Then in next yuga, one of the feet has to go, then next yuga another one. And so in Kali Yuga, where we are now, the bull of Dharma is balancing on one leg, no? On one foot. All the others are gone, which makes it very difficult. No? And that is why we see a lot of bad, because your question is about good or bad. And so we can say we see a lot of things which are not very good. And for those that are interested in this, it's amazing, absolutely amazing, how the very old Vedic texts describe Kali Yuga as the time where man will pollute the world, as a time where man will lose faith in his leaders because they are corrupt, etc., etc., etc. Descriptions which are far too precise, to be anything but prophecies. No? So, but then about the matter of good and bad and dharma, this is a difficult subject, because good and bad are not absolutes. Because in some situations something may be good, and in some situations something may be bad. Like killing usually is seen as bad, except, we all kill to eat, which is a natural thing. And maybe also killing to protect your family from some robbers, or I don't know, may also be seen as a good thing. So in that way, dharma is personal. Su dharma, this is then called. What is your personal dharma? And so this is something you can only choose yourself, and the right choice is found by having a good connection to the heart. I actually have a whole class on that on YouTube called Yoga Dharma. And so when we have a heart connection and we have a question, because sometimes it's difficult to know what is the right choice here, what should I do? Sometimes two dharmas or duties might conflict with each other. So then which one is the most important? What should I do? So then, okay, we can think about it, reason about it, but if that doesn't bring an obvious solution, then we have to feel with our heart one way or the other way. And if we choose, let's say, the wrong way, our heart connection will break. And if we choose the right way, then we'll still feel connected to the heart and to the bliss of the self. Because in that, it is known what is good or bad. And actually, this is also the same way in which we can develop intuition. Like if you're in a city that you don't know very well and you come to a crossroad and you don't know left or right, you feel in your heart, which is the right way. And okay, a bit tricky in the sense that if it says left, it does not necessarily mean that left is the shortest path, but it is the best path for you. Maybe where you will meet somebody or something will happen that will be good for you. So anyways, that is to know about good and bad. So then if we look now in the world, yeah, I still feel, this is Kali Yuga. I mean, we can say that in the old times, Middle Ages and before that, there was also a lot of bad things happening. In some ways, we even live in a world which is a lot more safe and secure. But I would still say that these days are less good because we have so much more now. And we still don't share it. And that is really a shame. Like if you look in the very old times, people were really struggling to survive. And then of course, quarrels were there, wars were there, terrible things happened. In this struggle for survival. But nowadays, most people do not really struggle for survival anymore. I mean, no, I have to be more honest. Most people in some areas, the Western countries or how you call them, are not so much struggling to actually survive, literally, but we still don't want to share and spend so much money, so much energy, so much resources on just entertainment. Waste so much food. So in that way, I feel this is really like a bad time. But I don't really want to think about it so much in that sense because, as I say, I accept everything as it is. This time also has its space and it's part of an evolution. And this evolution has its bad moments, let's say. Yeah, sure. But that also has another side, because the more we distance ourselves from the truth, the more we distance ourselves from the self, the more we are pushed to return to it, because the unhappiness becomes unbearable. If we are well connected to the self, this is something I think many of you will also be able to see in your own life. Some periods are there where, you are really nicely centered and everything feels right and everything feels good. And then you get a little bit lazy and maybe meditate a little bit less and party a little bit more, I don't know. And you get a little bit more removed from the center and a bit more removed from the self. But you still, you're good, you don't mind. But after a while, you get so much distance from yourself that unpleasant emotions really start coming and it starts not being so much fun anymore. And then you return. Then you learn. So this is also true for society. This, I would say, one wave of unfortunately quite many people being so much like crazy and insensitive and non-sharing and selfish, also then pushes others in the other way, because it becomes unbearable. And so good, bad, it's all just movement. Things go up and down. And if you have the bliss, if you are centered and you look at it, then you also see behind, those waves of things going up and down, you see the ocean behind it, or underneath it, and you see there's just one thing, is life. Nothing good or bad actually happening, just happiness and unhappiness, and the learning that comes along with it. And then, okay, we can desire or wish, let's say, for the world to become a better place, but I've also explained quite a few times how this also relates to reincarnation. Shall I explain that? When I was young, in school, I learned there were 3 billion people about. Now there's 7 to 8 billion people. So where did this 4 or 5 billion souls come from? The answer is they came from animal kingdom. And I'm not saying anything bad about animals because they behave much more naturally than we are. But the truth is that animals still mostly live in the lower chakras. They want to survive. When that seems okay, they want to have fun. And when the fun is getting a little boring, then they might, want to climb a mountain also. And they have a love in 4th chakra for those close by, for their family, for their clan, for, whoever they feel is belonging with them. But they don't have much love for whatever is outside that. That is typical animals. So now we have these 5 billion peoples in their first incarnation as humans, having to live also with this brain, which is a huge asset, but also a huge problem, depending on how it's being used. And so now they have to evolve. But this takes time. So if I would say that more than half of the people on this planet are actually very selfish, I don't even feel I'm exaggerating, because it's very natural. They still have to grow beyond that. They still have to experience unhappiness to the point where they start asking real questions about it, and really then through some good experience maybe also understand, okay, happiness is not going to come if I only think about me, me, me. The real happiness I really find in togetherness with others. So then they expand their view and they become more aware and more considerate and more studying everything and trying to find solutions for everybody. And they are more coming, on a higher level. Which does not mean the lower chakras are, done or finished or no longer important. They still play their very natural role. But at least the energy also goes to a little bit higher centers. And then we can expect humanity really to change. They will have to be, born, live that life, get reborn, live another life, and then, I don't know how long it takes, honestly. It might take a while. And then only, of course, if we stop population growth on this planet. If we continue to have more and more people, then that problem will continue to be there. So population growth is a real big issue, spiritually speaking also. And of course also in terms of natural resources. We have to stop it. We have no choice. So in that way everything is actually taken care of, no? We have no choice. Humanity has no choice. It has to stop this growth thing. Cannot endlessly grow. So and then naturally also people will become a little more wise and considerate and together. And then, okay, we can feel, wow, now the world is in a better shape. But it's all an illusion. I said it in the beginning, I didn't go very much into it because I didn't want to make it complicated, but this is all just happening in the space of mind. Nothing real happening. So good to keep that in mind, no? And the suffering in the world is an illusion also. The idea of suffering is not an illusion, and in that way we have to be compassionate for everybody who is suffering. But the suffering itself is unreal. It's only caused by the attachments that people have. If they are attached to their body, then they suffer when they die. Sure. But that's because of the attachment. So no suffering is there, except for, you could say mental suffering. And so in that way we can try to help them and maybe teach them if they are willing to listen. No, that's what we also said here. No, you can help whoever is asking for it. The ones who don't want to listen, don't waste your time and energy trying to convince them otherwise. No? I mean, okay, if they're standing in your way or making things difficult for you, not letting you have your space, then okay, defend yourself. That's a different thing. But don't become like a preacher, no? Trying to convince people who have no interest at all. It won't work to start with. And it's really not love. They are where they are, and they will grow. And how do you want to, push that? Only offering, you can help. You offer the help, yes. If they want, they take it. You offer the wisdom, yes. That you can do, but not more than that.